Jay, it's Alex Gilmore here, and I'm going to give you a little lesson on how to hone your razor. We're going to do your Henckels first. To begin with, this is a photo of human hair. This is from my beard, and this is the magnification that my camera is set up to photograph with my microscope and my in this computer. So just for sake of proportion, this is about 150 microns wide, and you can see the scaling of the hair. I'll take that away, and then here's another photo. This might be a little easier for you to relate to. This is from a $5 bill. Let me pull it into... Okay, this is a $5 bill that you have like in your wallet. And on the $5 bill, along the edge here, on both edges, there's a deckled border. And I've cut out a section of that. And in that deckled border, there is printed the words $5. This is the center of the O from the letter dollar, or from the letter O from the word dollar. The ink is surrounding that. At this magnification, it looks pretty weird, but that actually is the center of the O. And you can look at your own $5 bill and get a perspective out of that. Okay, this is the way your razor came to me. This is your Henckels razor. And I guess either you were using a pasted strop or someone else was to maintain the edge, well, which failed, of course, at some point to actually provide you with any shaves. But this is, again, is the same magnification that we're looking at the $5 bill. And this is basically what you were shaving with, or trying to shave with, from the Henckels. There's some, and this is the good parts. Okay, here we get into some pretty gnarly stuff going on here with your razor's edge. And I couldn't get even an HHT1 rating from this razor, and I guess that's why you sent it to me. Now there's also some of these deep scratches going on along here that were never resolved. To have a razor, that really shaves well, you have to sort of take care of a lot of these really deep. These were from the bevel set, I assume. I don't really know what stone that person was using, or if this was you yourself. But in any case, we're going to take care of that. Here's your razor up here. This is your Henckels. That's what we're looking at. And it's a beautiful razor. I wish I owned a nice razor like this myself. But in any case, I've got my Shapton 2000 grit and this asagi that we're going to use to hone up your razor. So we'll do the bevel set first, and we'll follow this process in the microscope. So we need a little bit of water on the Shapton. Oh, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm a believer in this Kapton tape, and I think more and more fellows are following the situation too. This is how I normally put on a piece of tape. So you take out I have a platform here that I just use it as a holder. Pretty much as simple as that. And then snip off the tape. And smooth it down. I guess maybe I wasn't really on camera for that, but in any case. Okay, so back to the Shapton here. bevel set on the shaft. This was freshly lapped. Now, those are enormous issues to resolve on this razor from as I got it from you. So we're going to have to work through those, and it will be a challenge. This is with medium pressure, no big deal. Okay, here is the way that's shaping up now. Now, if I'm not mistaken, there are still a lot of dings and uneven surfaces going on. These Shapton 2000 grit scratches are masking a little bit of that. So this is after, like about 12 or 15 strokes. I wasn't really counting. But what we've begin to do is establish a scratch pattern from the Shapton that begins down at the base of the bevel and continues as a uniform scratch pattern all the way up to the front, or the edge, I mean. Okay, so let's continue. We need some more work, obviously, on the Shapton. So okay. There we go. Okay, so for whatever razor we might be talking about, when we see a scratch pattern like this begin to develop, there are going to be scratches that originate at the base and continue towards the very edge, and what we're developing is a false edge of sort of feathery steel at the edge that as we're honing from the back of the razor to the front, it gets flopped back and forth a little bit. So because it's so flexible. And that's why it looks a little bit fuzzy there. The granular quality of the razor is trying to hold on to that edge as a unit. So it gets pushed back and forth, and then it looks sort of unfinished right up in through at the very top there. So I think our edge is looking generally like it's straight now. I don't see any deep dips anywhere. There may be, but that looks like a pretty big, that looks like a nick right there. But what I'm going to do is we're going to use a glass jar, and we're going to join the edge on this razor, and that's going to get us to where we have good solid steel to work with. So basically it's slightly more than the weight of the razor. One pass or two, it doesn't usually matter. And this is going to take away all that false edge portion. And it's going to fold it down. It doesn't break it off or wear it off like a stone would do. But you'll see here, it's actually just folded the steel down. But it's taken all that irregular shape out of the edge. So what you're seeing here is that shiny part with a shadow underneath. That is the edge folded towards the camera, so the folded portion is reflecting the light, and the depth of field shows that the scratch pattern on the razor is a micron or two beyond or away from the camera. So let me focus in on that scratch pattern. We have a nice even scratch pattern now, and we have a nice straight edge portion of solid steel exposed. So that's the steel we're going to be honing on. And I'd like to take a photo of that area there. And let me focus in. This is scratch pattern, and then I'm going to focus on that folded edge portion. Okay, so let's pull the razor out and get to work here on using that. We're going to have an asagi that we're using. So, a little water. And I do have, you've probably seen this, a worn out diamond plate. It's an Atma that's, it's really good for raising a light slurry. So that equals 21 strokes on both sides of the razor. Okay, here's what we have now as far as a scratch pattern from this asagi. And I can, let me straighten that image up just a little bit there. I'll scroll along the edge here. And just follow that. It looks nice and even now. Ooh, on a boat. Okay, and so here's the edge, and we're going to go down. So this is the base of the bevel down here, and all those scratches are gone. There's the remains of a darker scratch, deeper scratch. We can follow that up, but it pretty much peters out right there. So this is what we're looking for, is to clean up that edge. The using the glass jar helped to flatten that edge, but now we're refining it with the stone. And we're going to create a shavable edge, and that's the base. A little clumsy here at times. Okay, so we still have our slurry there, and we're just going to work that slurry a little bit down to okay, I'm thinking this is going to be maybe enough for this razor. And we'll just use the microscope one more time here. Okay, that's, in my opinion, looking really nice and trim. Take one photo of that. Okay, for me, and I'm suggesting we take the razor over to the strop. So the strop helps to reveal more detail, of course, on the edge. And you can tell that the edge, the scratches at the edge have brightened up quite a bit. This is what it looked like before the stropping. And it's the same magnification, it's just the lighting is different because the way it lies reflected off the blade. So you can see we've actually brightened up the edge quite a bit. Okay, for me, and if I was going to shave with this razor, I would deem that as acceptable, at least visually. And then my next move would be to do a little palm stropping. And I don't know if you palm strop yourself, but this is, you know, the safer way to do it. Instead of flipping the razor like you would with a regular strop, I just use in one direction. So 10 strokes. Not a lot of pressure. 10 going the other way. 5. 'kay, so that's 21 strokes with the strop, or with the palm stropping. And we'll look at this one more time, and I think you'll even see a slight improvement from the Kanayama strop. Okay. You can see we have even a more regular edge now. And we'll go all along the razor here. So there are some irregularities, but if you remember and compare it with that image of the hair, this is going to be the kind of razor. There's a deeper scratch down there from the Shapton 2000, but it pretty much goes nowhere. So we've cleaned up the whole bevel. These were just with straight on strokes with a slurry. And you can make this edge look brighter there again visually. But when you start to use clear water only strokes, you end up with an edge that can be somewhat fragile because it becomes so thin. So I like to shave off of a scratch pattern as long as it's sharp enough. And I do have some hair here, so we can do a hanging hair test. And I'll zoom in a little bit. Okay. So that was a HHT maybe 2. not that good in my opinion, and that was like a 2 at best. So what I would suggest doing is going back to the stone for a few more passes. It doesn't have to be very many. And we'll go through the process here again, just so we can get a good handle on the basic idea. Okay, so because we went back to the stone, we've reestablished that scratch pattern again. Filled in the gaps a little bit, and at the edge it's not so bright and shiny, although it's not as shiny as where the paces drop or diamond dust or anything like that. But this is essentially a good kasumi finish from the Japanese natural, and we're going to take that again and do a little bit of stropping. I could use a camera person. And I'll same time do a little bit of palm stropping. And while we're at it, we might as well look at an image. Okay, that's pretty much in focus. Okay, so So that was up 5, it just fell to the other side of the razor there. I'm expecting you can see that. So this is definitely what I would call a shavable edge. These are all HHT5s, where they fall to the other side of the razor there like that. That's my definition. I think that's what other people are referring to when they say that bounce back over to my holding hand, but these are all very respectable. So this is one way to use this stone to hone your razor, and I'm going to use the same method for honing this Philomonica that you also sent me. We'll see how that works out.